Welcome back, everybody, to the PGA DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, John McNutt. You can find me on socials at JohnCool19, here for Fantasy Sports Insight, talking DraftKings DFS PGA. This week is the CJ Cup. Byron Nelson. It is a different name. AT&T is no longer the title sponsor here, but the Byron Nelson is still played at the same course, same great event we've had for the last couple seasons. Let's go ahead and jump right in. What we are looking at TPC Craig Ranch. This is in McKinney, Texas, par 71. It's just over 7,400 yards, bent grass greens, and this has been the host course, like I mentioned, since 2021. They did make some modifications last year, so do look at that. Not a huge difference. They shortened up one of the par fives, made it a par four, so now there are only 3 par fives on the course, making it a par 71. Couple things to note on this course. It is an absolute birdie fest if the wind will allow it. The wind is probably the only defense this course has. There is a creek that crisscrosses throughout the course, but for the most part, it is not coming into play all that often, especially with the long hitters. This is a driver course. We will see golfers take driver almost more than any other course on tour. 7,400 yards is pretty lengthy, so it will lead to some long distance approach shots. I have hidden here on my key stats proximity from 200 and plus yards. It is very heavy on those approach shots this week, so pay attention to that. The course, again, very wide fairways, and the rough is not very penal either. They did try and grow up the rough last year. They're trying to limit how many birdies are being made here because they felt there were too many, but still, this is a top 5 easiest course on tour, expecting that again this week. The wind, however, should play a factor on day 1 and 2. At least on Thursday, there could be wind as well as rain, so just pay attention to that. See if we might be able to do some wave stacking come Wednesday evening as we dig into the weather just a bit further. And then the last couple of things, they are very large greens. We have a ton of greens in regulation here. I'm not really going to factor that in all that much. Much more important to me would be ball striking, specifically approach. Guys are just going to bomb here all day long with their drivers. So it's going to be a matter of who is going to get closest to the flag on their approach, as well as who can putt best on these bent grass greens. Again, birdie or better percentage is a key stat for me, just because there will be so many birdies, and drive distance too helps a lot. It's such a long course. Having fewer of those shots coming from 200 plus yards, very beneficial to the golfers. As far as course history goes, they've only played it 3 times. Only a few golfers have even played all 3 years. So I'm not factoring that in all that much this week. If you want to look at it, that's great. I am weighting heavier in my model for shots gained on easy courses and shots gained on very long courses, as well as the comp courses. I'm looking at a handful of courses, including TPC Deer Run, TPC Sodgrass, TPC Twin Cities, and Vidanta Vallarta in Mexico, another very easy course, non-penal rough, a couple that you can look at if you want to compare to this week. Jumping into my favorite golfers, really, actually, before I mention these guys, I want to note that Will Zalatoris withdrew earlier today. He was one of just a few golfers priced over 10,000 on DraftKings. There are 0 golfers over 11,000 on DraftKings this week, and without Will Zalatoris, that makes just 2 golfers in that 10K range. Based on that, I would expect there to be just an absolute ton of ownership going to the 2 golfers in the 10K range. You should expect both of those guys, something maybe like 40%, 35% on Jordan Spieth, and then maybe even 25% plus or more on Siwoo Kim. Both of them, it's just based on the fact that players love to use their salary. I should say DFS players love to use their salary, and they are going to end up playing a lot of these golfers at the high end. I said Siwoo Kim, he's just under 10K, but really anybody in the 9,500 or above is going to get a ton of ownership this week. So expect that. Also, like Adam Scott and Alex Noren, both of those guys, lots of ownership, just based on Will Zalatoris withdrawing and there not being any golfers over 11K this week. So all that out of the way, my favorite golfer this week is Keith Mitchell. He is not the highest priced. He is only 8,800 on DraftKings, 35 to 1 outright to win on the DraftKings Sportsbook. He's in great form. He's made 7 out of his last 8 cuts. Of those 7 made cuts, 5 of them are top 20 finishes. He has some decent course history, 26th and 76th the last 2 years. And then I mentioned comp courses. He ranks 5th for me in comp courses this week. And then if you dig into the stats, there's a lot to like here for Keith Mitchell, why he is #1 overall in my stat model, #1 in ball striking, second tee to green, third in DK points. That's just here in 2024, and then 24th in distance and 7th proximity and that 200 plus yards. Also top 15 par 5 scoring. So a lot going for Killer Keith this week. A lot of people think he is best on Bermuda grass greens, although he is very, very close. Bent grass is his best putting surface overall. So I'm looking at him to have a very good week. Another guy I really like, and that's Siwoo Kim. He's a guy that oftentimes in the past we thought of him as either a top 10 guy or a missed cut guy. He's been really, really consistent this year. I like that a ton. Feel like it's a very quality but very quiet 2024. 0 missed cuts since October. He's been top 30 in each of his last 5 events. And looking at Siwoo, he's got better odds to win on the DraftKings Sportsbook than Jason Day. That's the other 10K golfer. Jason Day won this event previously. I don't know how many people are going to want to play him, but because of the pricing, he will get some ownership. I like Siwoo Kim even more than that. The course history for him, he was 55th, missed cut, and then he finished runner-up in 2023. The pricing, 9,800. I don't know if I've ever paid that for Siwoo Kim. A bit overpriced, but again, that's really field strength. I think the only top 10 golfer in the world is Jordan Spieth, and of the top 50, there's only a handful even playing in this event. So poor field strength leads to Siwoo Kim at 9,800. Maybe some people get off of him ownership-wise because of the price, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I still like him a lot as a high-end option here. For stats, Siwoo Kim, 25th on approach, 6th ball striking, first tee to green, and he's also top 25 scoring on par 5s. Jumping into some more value plays for me, I'm going to start with Tom Hoge. 9,100 doesn't seem like a value, but looking into that number a bit more, his odds are 25-1 outright to win on the DraftKings Sportsbook. His odds that ranks 4th. Really, I look at a couple sites. I looked at Bovada as well, and on Bovada, he is the 4th best odds to win. His price is 10th best in this field, and in my stat model, he's 5th best. That makes him a strong value play at 9,100. Had Will Zalatoris withdrew before the pricing came out, I would expect Tom Hoge to be at least 93, 9,400. He has played this event each of the last 3 years. Missed cut 17th and 43rd for Tom Hoge. He did burn a lot of people last week, including myself, and I think that might dampen his ownership just a little bit. We will see. Fantasy National has him as potentially the highest owned golfer, although I'm pretty sure that will be Jordan Spieth and not Tom Hoge. But look for him as an option for people that want to get off of being burned last week. Let's just go ahead and blame his partner, Maverick McNeely. That's why Tom Hoge couldn't get it done last week. It wasn't his fault. On the stats for him, 13th on approach, 7th ball striking, 11th tee to green, and he's 2nd in DK points this year in this field, 3rd in proximity from 200 plus, also top 20 par 5 scoring. You kind of see I've got some consistency why I love each of these guys I've mentioned so far, a lot of them very high in those major key stats. So let's go to one golfer not listed on this slide. Hopefully you are listening, and that is Peter Quest. He's 7,500 on DraftKings. He was bet down. He was in some books 120, 130-1 outright to win, all the way down to 70-1 now here on a Tuesday. That's because people are just betting him like crazy. He crushes easy courses, top 13 in each of his last 3 events. Certainly look his way, 7,500. He's going to be popular on DraftKings, but an option to get you a couple more of the higher priced golfers if you're playing him at just 7,500. A couple low-owned pivots for me. That starting with Sam Stevens, he's 7,500 as well, the same as that Quest that I just mentioned. His ownership is coming in on Fantasy National right now at about 5%. For me, he ranks #1 on long courses. He's top 20 distance and par 5 scoring. He was 4th last week in the Zurich, that team event he played with Barjan. He is the same price as Justin Lower and Peter Quest. Both of those guys are looking at getting double-digit ownership this week. I think Sam Stevens is a great pivot option off of those chalkier 7K golfers. And one more here, Minwoo Lee at 9,400. He can be popular at times, but right now he is not showing very much projected ownership. He's at about 7% on Fantasy National. That I expect to come up a little bit. But the thing is, he's jammed right between Noren, Ben On, Steven Yeager, and Tom Hoagie, all of which are probably going to be 15% ownership or more. So Minwoo might be the man left out there as far as DFS players are their selections. He's fifth in drive distance, number one par five scoring in this field, and 26th putting on bent grass greens. If you look at his logs too, he just has one missed cut since this event last year. That's great form for Minwoo Lee. He doesn't pop nearly as much as I thought he had, but he gets a good fan following, but I don't think that carries into DFS quite as much as maybe I thought it did. Minwoo Lee as a pivot option at the high end, 9,400. So that is going to do it for this week's show. I do want to mention a couple things. If you are interested in joining Fantasy Sports Insight, I can get you a free month of PGA. That'll get you through the PGA Championship, a handful of signature events coming up as well. If you use the code PGMAY, that's M-A-Y, so PGMAY, PGMAY, all lowercase, use that on our website, FSi DFS.com. That'll get you a subscription into our Discord for an entire month. That code is good through May 31st. So definitely come check us out. In the Discord, you will get ownership projections on Wednesday, a final look at weather, as well as a player pool to go with my core plays for cash and GPP as well. And then I do a Yahoo core and a FanDuel core as well if you're playing on those sites. I even give a tiers core if you are into tiers as well. So something to check out. Please come join us again. That code PGMAY for a free month over at FSiDFS.com. That'll get you into the PGA Discord. Thank you very much for watching. Check us out on our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS. Thank you so much for watching and good luck this week.